Now we're going to see how to communicate with a .NET model, so a class in .NET, and bring the data from it through Angular and up into our view. So this is something that often takes place with JavaScript for .NET developers, where you are interacting with your JavaScript and your code behind in .NET. So what I'm going to do first is create a class, and this is just going to be an employee model. So I'll go into models, and I'm going to add a model. First, I need to go ahead and stop the project. Now I'll go back and add new item, and I want a class that I'll call employee. Add. And I'm just going to have a couple of properties here. Let's see, first name, and then I'll do last name. And that's it. And then I'll go back to the home controller, and I'll go ahead and create this employee here in our index method. And I'll have to include my models to do this. So I'll say using Angular models. So now I'll create our employee instance, and first name is just going to be John, and last name is Doe. All right. What I want to do is send this back in the view. All right, so of course if I run this now, just to see the kind of result this is going to bring. So you can see here nothing is happening. I'll go ahead and I can leave that running right now because we're just going to make changes here. So I'm going to go ahead and create another model on the scope, and this is going to be employee model. So I'm just going to differentiate the name here so it's not confused with the .NET model. And I want to just do model. And now I'll go ahead and add this employee model in our index page. And so I'm going to say that and that. And just add a line break. And now if I refresh our page, you can see here we're running into a problem with our Angular now breaking. And the reason is because it doesn't know how to handle the model that we're giving it. So the model is actually coming back with the data in it, our employee information, but Angular doesn't know how to process that. So we need to add a few things to this line right here in order for that to process. But we have to make use of some Razor code. And let's see here, we need to do HTML raw. But you can see we're now starting to mix a little bit of .NET in with this. And we're inside of a JavaScript file, so that's not really going to work. This is where things get a little bit specific with .NET and Angular and kind of break some of the patterns that are used in Angular. We actually need to push our code, and really we just need to push our controller into our layout.cs HTML. This right here could go into an app.js, and then we would reference that just like we reference this controller. So this would, because this right here doesn't have any kind of code that we need to use to process using .NET. To keep things simple, I'm just going to copy this and add it into our layout.cs.html. And I am just going to add this here. Actually want to do type is going to be JavaScript. And I'll just paste in our code here. And then I can remove this reference. So with these JavaScript files, I wanted to show you how you can push some of your code into JavaScript files and structure it that way using the controller files. You can do that if you're not interacting directly with .NET. Now, once you start interacting with .NET, you need to get back up into the CS.html file, and I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to put a breakpoint right here on this file, and what I want is now I'm going to do HTML raw, and we want to encode this. So we're going to use JSON. And now we're going to push that into our model, our Angular model. So now I'll go ahead and recompile and run. All right, we hit our model here, and you can see we've got our data. It's going to feed it into this JavaScript model, or this Angular model. And I'll let that go ahead and run. And there we are. Now we can go ahead and fix this up a little bit. And now I'm just going to take this breakpoint off of here and go up into our index where everything is happening. See, this is going to be first name. And I'll do this. Reference exactly as it was defined here in our model. I'll just copy that. And last name. And I'll just run that again. And there we have it, first name and last name. So you can see here how we did that by just referencing the properties on that model. So what we did was model to model assignment. If I go back over here, we got our model, we encoded it, and then we assigned it directly to another model, the Angular model. And this is basically an instance of the .NET employee class. And because of that, we just did this. Now, we didn't have to create these properties, first name and last name, at all in Angular. We just start referencing off of our .NET class directly. So that's a quick way of how to do read-only from .NET up into Angular. Just remember to put your JavaScript, your Angular processing, inside of your CS.html file so that you can make use of these kinds of functions here in the JSON encode as well. And then that will allow you to bring your model out of .NET and push it into an Angular model, and you can directly reference properties off of it in your view.